The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Oh shit! It's Vince Russo!
Vince McMahon's best kept secret.
I am the Antichrist of professional wrestling!
David Arquette won the world title.
I've got a wife, 3 kids at home, and I really don't need this shit.
How can this show be so awful, Mr. McMahon? I didn't think it was.
Viagra on a pole match.
And Hogan, you big bald son of a bitch, kiss my ass.
Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
McMahon, the family, The Rock, they screwed us all!
Now you're the editor, right?
Mankind did it! Jumpy, beat! Goldberg steered Russo on the table!
I'm from New York.
I'll get downright nasty.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
I have a very, very special interview today, and a very important interview today, and a very meaningful interview today. Let's face it, 99% of the time we come on here and, we talk about, wrestling and people's careers in wrestling. And, it's really just chitter chat. It's entertaining, and it's a lot of fun. But this interview, there's going to be much, much, much more meaning to, and I'm so lucky that this person has trusted in me to come on my show and have this conversation with me. It's really an honor. I mean, it really is. I want to introduce you to somebody I worked with at Rocky Mountain Pro. I was working with a little territory in Denver, Colorado. Great athletes, great human beings. We had our first season on the Realm Network, and it was very successful. And there was a performer there I worked with by the name of Angel Trinity, whose real name is Angie Vincent. Angel Trinity is joining us today. Angel, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you this morning, Vince?
I'm doing great, Angel. And let me tell you, you look great as usual.
Thank you.
I see the sunlight bursting in behind you.
I'm just trying to cover it a little bit.
Well, your character would definitely cover that. I mean, your character, listen, if people don't know it was Angel Trinity. We kind of segued into Unholy Trinity. But let me tell you something, man. If you want to see a great character, please tune into Rocky Mountain Pro. The first season is on the Realm Network. And I got to tell you, let me talk about that first, Angie, because I'm just going to be honest with you. You are I think it's safe for me to say you're on the shy side. Is that correct?
Very, very much.
Yeah, you're on the shy side. You and I talked a little bit about some creative ideas, and I knew I kind of had to handle it with kid gloves because I knew, you're a great wrestler, you're a great performer, but when it comes to the entertainment side, a little bit shy, not somebody that just likes to be noticed and likes to be in the spotlight.
Exactly.
But I got to tell you, it blew my roof off when all of a sudden you transformed into this unholy trinity. You became a completely different person than Angel Trinity. So first, let me ask you that before we get to the crux of the interview. Where did that come from? Because let me tell you something, Angie, I've worked with some of the greats. Yes. And I've worked with pros that were never really able to transition. Yes. You picked that up overnight, and it was incredible. Yes. It shocked me. Where did that come from?
I just thought to myself one night, I was thinking, he's right. Everyone's right. I am good in the ring, but there's a lot of good girl wrestlers out there, and I want to do something that's going to put eyes on me. And I was always on the shy side. And I just thought, you know what, let's put all that behind me. If I really want to do this, and if I really want to make money in this someday, let's do something outrageous and let's actually try to make this happen one day. So I just put all it behind me.
But Angie, to help other people, I got to stop you right there, because you make it sound so simple to put it all behind. Like, you know, I'm shy all my life. Then all of a sudden I decide I'm not going to be shy. Listen, it's not that easy. Right. So like, there are probably a lot of people out there, you know, not only in the business, but in life, that are shy, that are afraid to speak up, that are afraid of public speaking, social environments. I mean, literally, like, you got to explain to them, how did you turn on the switch?
Honestly, I turned on the switch because I actually, I live with my family right now, and I help pay rent with them. So I went to a wrestling trip one day, and I came back home, and I had my mom say, well, why don't you do something that's actually going to make you money? Why do you keep pursuing this dream? And it was just something that clicked inside me, that I want to prove like her wrong, that I could actually do this and it could help us. And it was just like a weird switch that went in my head, that I was like, okay, I need to do this right now, because I need to prove all these my family wrong that thinks that I can't do this. So I think that's kind of where it stemmed from.
Well, I got to tell you, man, you were always a great in-ring performer. When you married that with now a great entertainer. And listen, I got to be honest with you, like, there are other characters similar out there, but I got to tell you, man, yours is by far my favorite, because you embrace it. The walk, I don't even, what would I call it down to the ring, Angie? I wouldn't call it a walk. What would I call it?
Like a crawl, like if I was crawling out of your TV, like if I was crawling out of
very ringish, I guess you would say. But from the entrance, and keep in mind, like, Angie's doing this on an independent scale. I mean, I can't even imagine on the main stage where money wouldn't be an issue. Like, I can't even imagine what this would look like. But to see what I'm talking about, check out Rocky Mountain Pro. You know, they have a website. You can go to the Realm Network and see all the great shows. Okay, Andy, let's talk about something. Oh man, that I'm glad you want to talk about. Let me put it to you that way, because let me first. We haven't spoken before this conversation.
Yes.
So I want to kind of tell you my point of view first in working with you.
Okay.
Now, when I first started working with Angel, and all the other great men and women of Rocky Mountain Pro, I was told, I didn't find this out on my own, which means I didn't know. So I was told there was something very special about Angel. And I never, I'm being as honest as I could here. Yeah. I did not know on my own. Right. I would have never thought, but I was told by the owner, of Rocky Mountain Pro, Matt Yaden, that, since I was working with Angie, there's something you should know. So Matt told me what that was. And I got to be honest with you. I was surprised, because I didn't realize it, but I mean, it had no bearing on me, like, whatsoever. Here's what had a bearing on me, Angie. I'll tell you what had a bearing on me.
Okay.
What had a bearing on me is Matt saying to me, well, Vince, what I'm telling you, kind of kayfabe, because Angie doesn't want people to know. And like, when he told me that, like, Angie, I felt for you a couple of things. First of all, my coming from New York, my first reaction is screw freaking everybody. Yeah. She's who she is. She should stand up on a soapbox. This is me. This is who I am. Love me or hate me, I don't care. I love myself. Yeah. So that's my first trigger is screw everybody. Angie, right. Come on. Yeah. But my second thing is, now I'm putting myself in Angie's shoes, and I'm saying to myself, God, I cannot imagine. I can't imagine what she's going through psychologically, mentally, keeping something like this. I couldn't imagine. But of course, Angie, I respected your wishes. We never discussed it. We never talked about it. It was, business as usual. Yeah. But now, you know, about a month ago, no, about 2 months ago now, right? I think it was sometime in February. Angie came out with a YouTube video. She's starting her own YouTube channel. We're going to talk all about that. She came out of a YouTube video with a very special, important, and heartwarming message to her fans. And I'm not, listen, I set the table for you, Angie, but now it's the floor is yours. You know, in your words, can you tell us a little bit about what that message was?
Okay, so that message was basically me wanting to come out to everybody and to explain kind of who I am a little bit. I am actually transgender, meaning I was born male, and I'm taking the steps, the medical steps and procedures to transition fully as female. And this definitely wasn't something that I wanted to come out with first, because I wanted to, you know, still be seen as normal. I guess I don't like the double look when I walk down the street. Well, I don't get it anymore, but I just didn't want to be out there, so I never.
You know, Angie, let me ask you this, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I mean, you're going to have a lot to say, but Angie, yeah. I got ADD, so like if I don't ask you a question on the spot, I'm going to forget it, and I don't want to forget anything.
Please,
okay,
you're good.
Now, Angie, I talked about my experience with you. I had no idea. Like if I wasn't told, I wouldn't have known. So when you say to me, like when you're walking down the street and people are looking at you, here's my question to you, Angie. Like, how many people are really giving you a double take, or how much of that is in your head because of who you are and you think they're giving the double take? I mean, do you really know? Or is it just such a psychological weight on your mind that you just think everybody's looking at you and everybody's pointing a finger at you?
I'll be completely honest with you. I 100% agree. It is all in my head, and I could walk down the street like normally, but yeah, with me being who I am and growing up and kind of the things I've been through before I even got to the position I am today. It's definitely just something that weighs on me, and it's definitely something that's on the back of my mind every day, at work or anywhere I go. But it's just something that I've learned to kind of keep down a little more. It's not as bad as it used to be, to where I'm constantly thinking, but it does, you know, peak throughout the day here and there. So,
yeah. You know, Angie, I have a million questions I want to ask you about this, but I want to back up first, because I want to get an understanding. Listen, I have to tell you this, man. I'm a firm believer in, like, God, like he creates us all individually, and there's only one of us. There's only one of us. He's only made one Vince Russo. He's only made, you know, one Angie Vincent. I mean, he's created all of us, and he created us with a reason and with purpose. And I think we go through our entire lives trying to figure out what that is, and we're probably not going to know till we're no longer here, and he tells us, and then we'll understand it. But he, you know, for whatever reason, he creates us all individually, and that's how I look at each and every person that I know. Is for a reason he made Vince Russo the way he did. For a reason he made, you know, Angie Vincent the way he did. I don't know. I'm not the creator of men and women. I don't know what the plan was. But my question is, you said something in that video that I watched, and you said, like, you got to the point of being in 8th grade where kind of in your mind it was like, screw it. You know, like, this is who I am. I know this is who I am. And the first step was growing out your hair. Yeah. But I want to back up beyond that, Angie, because, like, I keep catching myself saying I want to really understand. But obviously you and I know that, like, I can never understand because, you know, I'm not you. But, like, when did you realize, like, obviously it was before the 8th grade,
Right.
When did you realize, growing up, you see boys and you see girls and you have friends of both sexes, like Angie, do you first, I don't even know how to put this in words. Is the feeling like just something is different about me? Like, because I can't even imagine at that young an age what you're processing through your mind. So do you mind just kind of going back and taking me through the steps and the people listening so hopefully they could form a better understanding?
Yeah. So at a very young age, I knew definitely something was very different. I was so young at the time, though, I can't really recall what those feelings were. I was never a kid to act out. I always felt like obviously more girlier than I did as a boy. I think it really hit me when we went to kindergarten, and it was just the adults treating me differently from the girls, I think, is what started confusing me at first, because I always categorized myself with the girls. And when I had teachers or my parents or somebody be like, oh no, well, you need to be over here in the boys section. And I'm like, wait a minute. And it was just confusing. Growing up, I just remember being really confused and sad all the time, honestly.
Now, when you talk about confused, and Angie, you got to understand, I'm asking you a lot of these questions because I know there are going to be people watching this in your same exact situation that maybe have not had the courage, to kind of come out publicly like you are. So I want to take advantage of that.
Okay.
Now, when you say at that young age, and you explain about kindergarten, like, do you go about asking questions? Like, is there ever a conversation with your parents? Because a key word you just said to me was confused. I'm very confused. Well, I would think if I'm a child and I'm confused, I'm going to start asking questions. I would just think that would be the normal procedure. Did that soon follow? Did you start asking questions and maybe talking to your parents? What came out of that confusion?
Okay, so growing up, my mom married a man when I was 4, and I did not get along with that man very well at all. And so I never felt safe around him to ask those sort of questions. I always waited until he spent his annual 1 hour time in the bathroom. Like at night, I would sneak out to my mom's room, and I would ask questions. And she was just, calmly. She looked confused at first, but she would, well, no, you are different from your sister. And she explained the differences and stuff. And I think then I just kind of accepted it, that, okay, well, there might just be something wrong in my brain, and maybe that's okay because, I'm healthy and stuff, and, so I'll just accept it. And so I did for a while.
When you say accept it, Angie, like, what does that mean? Does that mean like you make a conscious decision? Okay, I'm a boy and I'm going to start acting more like a boy. Like when you say accept it, I'm just trying to understand what that means to you at that point.
When I accepted it, I was never, like I said, I was very shy growing up still anyways. I was never one that wanted attention on me anyways. And if my mom could sit there and prove to me that there is different similarities or difference between me and my sister, then I'm the one that's wrong. And I'm the one that just needs to suck it up and just learn how to be a boy. And I never was like, okay, well, I'm going to be more boyish. I was just kind of that shy, skinny kid. Honestly, I never categorized myself. I just kind of didn't put myself in any category. I guess I was just kind of in the middle for so long.
But the problem is, I would assume now, even though you're accepting it, it doesn't go away.
Exactly.
So, like, I mean, Angie, again, I don't mean to be naive, but like, this is so like interesting, to me. The fact that it doesn't go away, Angie, this has to be something. Listen, you're going to school like a normal kid. You're doing what normal kids are doing. But I have to imagine this is forefront on your mind 24/7. Like I would just have to think that. Am I correct in saying that? Or like when you say I accept it, I want to say when you say I accept it, then you go on and live a normal life. But obviously you can't because of these feelings. So like, I guess my question is, as a kid, like, is it just on your mind 24/7? Something's different here. I know something's different. I don't feel like everybody else, but I'm not quite sure what it is. I mean, is it an everyday thing?
Yeah, the feelings were always there. And when I finally was just like, okay, I'll just, stop asking questions about it and just start living the way they want me to live. But always like in the back of my mind, kind of the way I coped with it. And this is kind of silly because this is just something I did when I was in like first grade, maybe to third grade. I would just imagine that I was who I wanted to be. And that was like my sister, and that was female. And I pretended like I had long hair. And when adults interacted with me and they said pronouns, I would block it out of my head and just imagine that they popped, the right pronoun in there. Like I didn't know like how else to cope with it. I wasn't one to act out. So I would just be in my own little mind about it, I guess. And just
Angie, you know what's so funny? Like ever since I've met you, like I always looked at you like a woman. And what just dawned on me was you told me about 15 minutes ago that your mother's telling you the differences between you and your sister. And like I just realized I'm thinking the differences between you and your sister personality wise, because I'm thinking you are a girl. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh no, she was a. So that's, I mean, that's how much, really you came across to me. Okay, Angie, this goes on for a while now. I would assume, so, you knew in kindergarten when you first went to school, it doesn't go away. The feelings don't go away. What's the next step where it's like, okay, wait a minute, either a conversation with your mom. I mean, whatever it is, what was kind of the next step and what led to that?
Okay. So that's when we start heading into middle school and stuff, like sixth grade. I hung out with a lot of different people, and I didn't know exactly what I was. I knew I liked other guys and I knew I liked girlier things, but I didn't really know what it was. I honestly didn't even know what gay was. But I had all these people telling me, well, you like other guys, so that means you're gay. I'm like, oh, okay, everyone's calling me, I guess I'm gay. And so I dated like as a gay guy, and it's just still didn't feel right to me. Because all these guys were like girlier than I was sometimes. And like, there's nothing wrong with that because like I'm who I am and everything. And I just wanted someone like I guess more masculine. And I guess I wasn't going to find that as a gay guy. And so,
well, Angie, do you think though, like, do you think once you get into middle school now, do you think, okay, the issue is, and why I'm different, the issue is because I'm gay? I mean, so do you believe that's it wholeheartedly?
Yeah, that's what I thought, because that's what everyone told me. And I guess and like all kinds of kids told me that, like I was called that constantly. And I was like, okay, well then I guess that's what the case is.
Yeah. The kids labeled you. They labeled you, and that's what I am. So, but Angie, now you mentioned, you start dating guys.
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh God, I'm just so I can't imagine. But what is it, Angie, that is telling you, no, wait, this still ain't right? Like what is that? What is it? What is that feeling?
Oh, okay. It was I would just it's just different. Like I guess the stereotypical like boyfriend girlfriend type thing. The boyfriend is more like protective of the female, and she's more like, he comes up behind her and like, like and he's the gentleman and he opens the doors and stuff. But it was kind of like I was getting expected of that, and that's just not what I was like, looking for at the time, or I guess any time. That's just not what I was into. I wasn't one to, open the door for him or like, do the sort of manlier role. I guess you can say, you know.
Yeah, so okay, so then what's the process when you realize then that is not right? It still isn't me. I mean, I can't even imagine the level of confusion like at this point. Like I can't imagine it. So what happens next?
I remember one summer of 7th grade, I was watching an MTV show, and they showed a transgendered woman on there who was male to female, and she started talking about it, and it just blew my mind. I was like, what is this? Like, I had no idea that this kind of stuff existed. I didn't know that was possible. And so I watched it, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Like, that's crazy. But, you know, I'm just like, yeah, I think this is kind of more the situation, I think. And I just kind of, right there was when I decided to just kind of go with it.
What does that mean, Angie? Go with it. Like, well, this is in the 7th grade, you said. So like you said, in the 8th grade, you started growing your hair out. So it all makes sense. But like in your mind, when you're kind of like, you know what, I'm just going to go with this. Like, what does that mean to you?
I just started researching it first. I just wrote down the word transgender. I'd never heard it before. I just started researching it, and I found all kinds of information that I had no idea existed on the internet. And just the more I read, the more I felt that that's what was going on. So I just slowly, but like, started growing my hair out and just started, you know, wearing clothes like underneath, you know, my boy clothes type of thing. And by the time I got to high school, it was just full me. I was full myself.
Now, Angie, how are you being accepted? 2 questions I have for you. At this point, you know, where are you with your mom? You know, was there the conversation with the mom? And I can imagine how difficult that was. And number 2, I mean, you're in high school now, man. You know, so like I can't imagine, you know, how you were accepted. So did you go back to your mom and have this conversation first?
I honestly, no, I didn't. When I was when I was watching the TV show and everything, and I was doing all this research, I wasn't talking to her about it because I wasn't sure myself. And I started. So I told myself that I was going to try to do it for like a week or 2 in school and try to, you know, live full time, like during my school days. But when I come home, I would, you know, dress normal and stuff. And if I felt like this is like still who I was after the week or 2, then I would talk to my mom about it.
You know, Angie, that's real interesting, saying that, you know, I'm going to live my life as a female when I go to school, but then when I get home, I'm going to, you know, go back to, you know, being a boy.
Yeah.
Like, I would think it would be the opposite, because I would think that you would be safer at home, you know, doing this because you're around people that love you. You're around your mom. And even though they don't understand, they're going to love and support you compared to school, when we know how people could be. And I mean, there's the potential of them having a field day with you. So like, I'm real curious, like what made you make that decision?
Okay. So like I said, I've never gotten along with the man she married and the man who was living with us. Honestly, I went through hell living with him, and he made everything difficult for me. And I was hurt a lot. And I didn't feel safe at home at all, like during that time. And so at school, I guess it really kind of, I didn't get bullied too much. Like, I'd get the sly remarks and stuff, but for some reason I felt safer, like outside of my house versus.
Wow. That makes all the sense in the world. I totally understand that. Yeah. So now, but that surprises me a little bit, just knowing how people are, you know, when you say you weren't bullied and it wasn't so bad, but at the same time, were you able to establish, you know, close relationships and close friendships, or did you know, a lot of people, I don't need to tell you this, Angie, but a lot of people like kind of, they're afraid of the unknown. Like if we don't understand somebody, we're just going to stay away from them. They don't know because they're just ignorant to it. Were you forming close friendships? Were there people that you could talk to, or were you kind of the lone wolf during those high school years?
Yeah, I have one really good best friend that I've known since 6th grade, and she's been there through absolutely everything. And I talked to her a lot, and I'd always escape to her house because she lived down the street from me. And I just kind of talked to her, and she kind of was like, no, like, F what everyone says, you're who you are, and you're beautiful, and you just gotta, keep going for what you want to do. And I could see that this is something you want. So I don't want to see you give up on something just because of what someone else has to say. So okay. I have support.
Okay, now again, the relationship at home with the stepdad, not good. But sooner or later, you gotta tell them, right?
Yeah. So how that happened, that blew up, Vince. That was a crazy time. So when I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, I'm gonna go ahead and talk to my mom about it. So I talked to her about it first, and it was surprising because when I came out as gay, because I had to come out as gay first, she was okay with it and she was happy with it. She's like, oh, I don't care, like, good for you, But then I came out as this, and she looked at me and she's like, what do you mean? Oh, I hope you don't do something like that. And she just looks so like, oh, like scared, kind of. And
that's what it was too, probably, Angie, being scared and really not understanding. I mean, unless you're living this, it's very hard to understand. So even though she's your loving mother, I mean, I could kind of understand how that would be the initial reaction. Yeah,
for sure. So she made it hard too, because I was like, well, this is something I want to do. Like, this is something I want to live my life as. Like, I want to start, like trying to transition and stuff. And she's like, well, I'm not going to have that in my house. I'm not going to have that in my house. And I was 16 at the time. And my stepdad, I guess at the time, was telling her like, no, this isn't right. Like, this isn't okay, like at all. Like, you need to do something about this. Your kid's going through a crisis type thing. And I had to go stay with a religious aunt for a while. What else did they do? They made it hard. They ripped up all kinds of clothing that they found. They seen makeup, like I had to wash my face and I was punished in some way. Like, it was just really bad. So I honestly had to run away, and I ran away for 6 months.
And you're about 16 now at this time?
Yeah, I was a runaway for 6 months at 16 because of that.
So where do you go? Like, where do you go?
I went to a friend's house, or that my best friend, her boyfriend at the time, as a house we used to party at. And we all partied at his house, and his mom was kind of the mom that didn't care at the time. Like, it wasn't all that glamorous, I guess I should say. But I stayed there because they let me stay there, and I stayed there for a while.
Well, when you say 6 months, that would have to tell me that eventually you went back, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume things didn't change when you went back, did they?
Everything changed. It was different when I went back. I remember something happened, and I was like, I need to go home now. So I remember I called my mom, and she didn't answer. And I called again, and then she answered. And she's like, let me come get you. And I'm like, well, no, let me just walk home. I'm going to come home. So I remember knocking on the door, and the whole family that was living there opened the door. I wasn't gone for like 10 minutes. I walked in, and my brother just sat on the couch, and my uncle's watching TV, and I just walk in, and no one says anything. And then I remember going and seeing my stepdad at the time, and he tried to hug me, and I was weirded out, and I freaked out. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, I don't mean to, intrude, but go talk to your mom. So I went and talked to my mom, and I hugged her, and we cried or whatever. And it was just really overwhelmingly accepting. acceptance after that.
Well, thank God for that. I mean, God, that had to be a low. I mean, with everything that you were going through, being at odds with, family. I mean, thank God that was behind you now and you were able to move on.
Yeah, she learned while I was gone, she learned that what he was putting in her head. That it was wrong. And so we moved out after that.
Now, Angie, here's another thing to me that, again, I keep telling you, I can't imagine because I can't, I mean, but I mean, just for somebody to go through this, I can't imagine how difficult, but here's the next question. So at certain, you start making certain decisions, like I'm going to let my hair grow out, then I'm going to start going to school more as a woman and I'll go back. But now when you start talking about transitioning, this is a permanent thing now. Yeah. This is there's no going back. Like, this is a permanent thing. So when transitioning starts going through your mind, like it seems like this is just a progression. Am I correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
So like, go ahead, Angie.
It just starts out, slow and stuff, like, like the therapy and stuff, and they make sure it's really something that you want to go through. So it does start out slow, and then, they start you off with the hormone replacement therapy, and then you have to be on that for a certain while, and then they start, talking about surgeries and stuff. And so it is a long, slow process.
Now, Angie, again, I'm asking so many naive questions because I know, listen, I know people watching this. I know they're watching it for a reason.
Yeah.
Because they're probably where you were. That's where I want to make sure we get all these things out. Okay. So Angie, what it really comes down to is, like, what it comes down to is you come to the conclusion that, I'm a woman living in a man's body, correct?
Right.
But then, so once you accept that, and once, okay, your family understands and you accept that, I guess from a psychological point of view, you can't go on, being a woman in a man's body. At some point, I guess you have to make the decision, I want to be a full-blown woman. Yeah. Does that... What led to that decision? I mean, was it something had to, because that is like I said, that's the point of no return. And that is the step right there. Mm-hmm. What finally led to that?
Okay. That one's a little tricky, because when I got back from being a runaway, my mom left him and we moved to Lakewood. And that's when I was like going to school, like, full time as me, coming home as me. Like, it was just, I was a girl the whole time. Like, I was getting better, like, at, doing makeup. Like, I was flourishing, I guess, is what. And I had really bad anxiety at the time, and I kind of made not the greatest choices ever. And I just let that go on for years, honestly. Like, even when I got out of high school, I kept doing the partying thing because I don't know what was wrong with me, but I couldn't physically come to that decision because I was just not in my right mind. But then something, like, I guess a realization came over me at the age of like 18 and was like, okay, I need to, like, if I want to do this, I'm going to do this, because, I got called out at a store and I never did because I looked so good, but I wasn't on any sort of medication or anything. It's just because I lived that way for so long, and I wasn't doing anything, but people were still, like, recognizing me as a girl still. So I was like, oh, well, I still look like a girl, so that it doesn't matter, right? But then, like, something did happen to where, like, I was like called out, kind of. I was called, like, sir or something, and it freaked me out, and like I was like, okay, like, something's, like, I don't look as great as I think I do, I guess, and that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to, start going to therapy, clean my act up a little bit, get off, like, whatever I was doing. And
Angie, I have to ask you this again, keeping in mind that a lot of people are going to hear about this interview and be where you are, and that's why they're going to watch this.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm trying to cover that, because I know it's very important for you to help people.
Yes.
I saw your video, and that's why I want to help them. Now, and you talk about 18, somebody still sir, and you're like, okay, that's it. Let's do this, right?
Yeah.
But now you talk about therapy. I mean, we're going to get into that in a second. But here's what I'm getting at, Angie. You're 18 years old. Obviously, it sounds to me like you don't have a job where you're making $100,000 a year. So when you start talking to me about therapy and hormones and going through the process, in my mind, my first question was, oh my God, how much does that cost? The reason why I'm asking you that, Angie, is I'm sure a lot of people in your position are held back because they can't afford it. They can't afford to. Not that they don't want to do it. They don't have the funds to do it. So I guess that's my question to you. Knowing you had to go to that next step, knowing that next step is not going to be cheap. How do you handle that?
Okay. So when I made the decision to actually start going into therapy and stuff, my mom, she works for Kaiser, and that's where I have my insurance. First of all, I want to say, if you're going to do it, then just make sure you have, you need insurance. That's the one thing you need is insurance, and an insurance that's gonna, that has it's more known now. So there's going to be like ways around things now. It's just about, doing the research and where to go. Like I said, my mom works for Kaiser. So when I was finally I think I'm ready to be serious about this, she got me into the therapy sessions and, the $5 co-pays and stuff. And I had it's just about having insurance and knowing.
Well, Angie, what people need to know about that too is I was not too long ago, maybe about a year ago, I had a really long, in-depth conversation, about an hour, with somebody else that I know that's transgender. And they told me the good news is that a lot of major companies are starting to embrace this.
Yes.
And what that means is, benefits. If you do work for a big company and you do have health benefits, a lot of big companies now are starting to understand this. They're starting to embrace it. So from a insurance point of view, they are covered. So I think what you're saying is vital. Don't let that hold you back, because insurance is available out there to get it done. You just kind of have to do the research and find out where that's at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's I agree. And so once you have insurance, I think anything's possible from there. It just the dedication, it has to be there too. So that was another struggle, is just staying on top of it and going to my therapy sessions, because they didn't give me the medication right away. It's not oh, I'm going to show up and be hi, I want to be a girl. Can I have hormones now? That's not the case. You have to sit there and talk to them, and you have to work through barriers and stuff. And you'll learn that there is a lot of stuff that you need to learn before going into that, because there is a lot of risks with it too.
And Angie, that has to be really tough, because I would think that that is such a huge decision, that I would think that once you make that decision, and that's kind of, maybe that's the hardest part, but once you make that decision, I would think, okay, I want to do this tomorrow. Yes. And the fact that you've got to go through the process, I mean, that in itself must be agonizing.
Oh, it was. It was, because I thought I was ready. I was just okay, I've been living as a girl for this long. Come on, obviously it's what I want, but it was just, there's way much more into it that you got to learn about, and, kind of learn what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, exactly. Because Angie, you mentioned you went through therapy first. So I guess that's where it starts. I guess it really has to start with extensive therapy. Why are you feeling this way? Are you sure you want to do this? So I'm sure it all starts with the mental aspect of it. Am I correct? And like, how long does that go on for?
Usually it should be, I honestly think it should be like 6 months. It was about like 5 or 4 months for me, but like it's about, they want you on therapy for like a good like 6 months before they try to prescribe you anything. So it's a while.
Now, Angie, while you were going through that therapy, like, this is such a stupid question. But once you you sit down with a professional therapist and they're, psychoanalyzing you for 6 months and, really getting into your head. I mean, at that point, could they turn around and say to you, you know what? I don't really think this is what you're experiencing. I think it's something else.
Definitely. That's definitely something that could arise, I mean, if they see that you are like really like overly depressed or very like high prone to anxiety, they could be like, you know what, let's get your depression and your anxiety under control before we revisit this situation, because we want you like as healthy as possible, perfect mindset and anything before we put you on anything. Because if we start putting hormones in your body and you're having like issues already, like it's not going to be a pretty situation.
So they went through that process with you then, right?
Yeah. If I wasn't depressed and stuff like that.
So I got to ask you this now again. Okay, so now we get through therapy. This is the right thing for you. You are going to go forward with that. So now I guess there's the first round of hormones.
Yeah.
I have to imagine, Angie, because I can only imagine that at that point, there has to be so many different emotions raging through your body. Now, after all these years, I'm finally going to do this. I'm finally going to be the person I'm supposed to be. But then there has to be, am I making a mistake? Am I really sure that I want to do this? There's no going back. There has to be some fear because now it's going to become permanent. Did you go through that, Angie? Or like once it was time to get the hormones, were you I mean, that's it. I'm in. I mean, was there ever, I guess what I'm asking you is, was there ever second guessing?
Never. There was never any second guessing with me. I think just because I did live for so long as a woman, like I've lived like a good few years of my life and without it. So that once I got it, it was just like, okay, like this is like what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like once I actually had them in my hands, I remember thinking like, okay, this is it. After like 5 years of just, fooling around with it and just, oh, well, this is me. Like I'm physically going to do it and I'm ready for it.
Good. Okay. Now, Angie, again, I want to ask you this, but I'm not going to really dive into this because I know there's some bad memories here. But again, what I'm going on is you want to help people.
Yeah.
And that's why we're doing this. So I want to open up all boxes.
Please do.
Because like I said, if one single person is listening to this that you can help, that's what this is all about. Because I know that's important to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're not doing this for freaking attention or for headlines or to get a job. You're doing this because it's important to you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Angie, I know you probably don't know. I know. And I'm not going to stooge anybody out, but I know you were married.
Yes.
And I know it wasn't pretty. I know it was a very, very, very tough marriage.
Yes.
But what I want to ask you again to help other people. So now you meet somebody, it gets serious enough that you want to get married. Obviously, at some point you have to share this with the person you're going to marry. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when you did that, what was the reaction? Was it well received? Was it a surprise? Did they already know? I'm just curious because let's face it, people in your situation are having relationships as well. So I guess what I'm asking you is, how would you advise somebody who knows they're transitioning to, you know, they're transgender, but now all of a sudden somebody else comes into the picture and it starts getting serious? Like, what would be your advice to those people as far as the relationship is concerned?
Be completely 100% honest. That's all I could, because that aspect could get really dangerous, and that is just a fear that I have to this day still. Dating scares me, and if I have any advice, it's be honest, and if they're not interested, they're not interested. Like, there's no, if they really care about you, and if they really care to get to know you and want to really know who you are and stuff, they'll stay. But if that's obviously something that they don't want, that's just, you're gonna have to take your losses. Like,
so Angie, I would assume if you get into, you know, you mentioned there's a little bit of a fear of dating, but I would assume that's something you say up front, correct? Because the deeper and deeper you get in and it's never brought up, the more and more complicated it's going to be. Would that be a fair assessment?
Oh yeah, because you want someone to like love you for all of you and who you are, and you want them to accept you for anything and everything for who you are. And if that's just something you keep, that really is kind of a big like part of you. So, you know, they're not loving and accepting you for everything. They're, you know, they pretty much think that you're somebody that you're really not, you know?
Yeah. And it's not fair to them either, obviously.
No.
Yeah. Okay, Angie, let me ask you this now, because, you know, and this is like just not only educational for me, but educational to everybody listening. And like I said, man, the bottom line is, if there's one person out there, you know, dealing with what Angie dealt with, this is what this is about, because I know this is the most important thing to Angie. Angie, let me ask you this now. We start getting, you know, you go through the therapy. Now you start, you know, getting the hormones. Now, listen, the only thing I know of is, you know, how steroids can affect pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know there's a negative side to it as well. Now, when you start taking these hormones, I have to believe there could be a what's the word I'm looking for? There could be a risk, or it could bring on other issues and other problems. Yes. Is that the case? And did you experience any of that?
So when I first started them, I wasn't wrestling and I wasn't working out, you know, daily like I am now. But when I first started it, I just remember being super dizzy for like a straight 2 months. Like I would wake up and I'd take a shower, and by the time I'd get out of the shower, that start coming on, and like it was just all day.
That's horrible. I mean, yeah. Listen, I suffer from vertigo a little. That's why I'm saying so. Like, you can't even function. No. Like, that's the worst thing in the world.
I thought, I was like, is this really for me? Because it's been a while now, and I'm still like, I'm waking up dizzy. I'm going to sleep dizzy. I'm just dizzy all the time. Like, yeah. It was just hard. It was hard I couldn't drive for the longest time. Like, it was just difficult, like adjusting honestly to it.
So did that just pass?
Yeah, like after 2 months, I eventually, like, I realized it went away. It wasn't something like it went away. It was just like, oh, I remember I used to be really dizzy. Like, whatever happened to that, you know? It just kind of faded.
Okay, now what about the physical? Because I'm a wuss, Angie. You know I'm a wuss. That's why I'm not a wrestler. That's why I write for wrestlers, because I'm a big wuss. Because the first thing I would have to consider, you know, and again, I've never been in that spot, but the first thing I have to consider is, okay, how much pain is involved in this? Like, I'm sorry, that's the first place I would go. So aside from the dizziness, you know, and getting over that, I mean, there's got to be, that's, you know, that type of surgery now, when we start, you know, getting operations and taking it to the next level, I would have to think at that time there's more of a risk, and it's got to be painful, correct?
Yeah. I figured.
Angie, I'm sorry for the stupid questions, but I got to ask.
I hope you do ask, and that's the thing. There's always like a part, and everyone's journey where, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. There's always like a part to where, like where you're at, I guess. And I'm personally like not there yet, but I could only like imagine, and like I'm very like I'm scared, but I think that's something that I'm ready to do.
Okay. Now here's the important thing, Angie. Let's spend a little bit of time on this. Okay. God, you just laid out your whole life to us.
Yeah.
And I mean, you did some very, very brave things, because I would have to imagine, Angie, trying to fight it is probably not a healthy thing to do. No. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of people out there trying to fight it. And I'm sure they go into deep, deep depressions. I'm sure that there are suicides over this. I mean, am I right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But you kept going with it, and it was a process, and one step to the next, and you were brave about it, and you never went back. Thank God. Because like I said, if you tried to fight this, who knows what road that would have went down with depression and suicide, and who knows. But here's the thing I think we need to talk about, Angie.
Okay.
You go through this entire process, and you're still going through the process, okay? And this is me. This is who I am. I'm doing it. Screw everybody. This is it. Accept me for who I am. Mm-hmm. But yet, now you get into wrestling.
Yeah.
And through all that, you're still holding back to let people know who you really are. And this is what I think is huge, because I think there's a lot of people that like are right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've made the decision. We're committed to this. This is who I'm supposed to be. I'm going through with this process, but they keep it all inside. Right. Now, is that a matter? Angie, what is that a matter of? I have to assume it's a matter of fear. And I mean, I don't think it's a matter of being unaccepted, because you said you're in high school. You know, you're born a male. But now you go to high school, you let your hair grow out, you start dressing like a woman. So I don't think it's a matter of being unaccepted. You weren't worried about it at that point. What's the fear that keeps you from, like, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to tell everybody. What's the fear that keeps you from that?
Okay. So I wasn't worried about it before, because I knew everyone in like middle school, like they knew I was going to do it, and they knew what I was going through. So, but like now that I'm at this certain point in my life to where like I've been doing it for years now, and like I've been on the medication, and things are developing, and I'm changing, like, and I look more and more like, more feminine every day. And I guess it's the fear of like, okay, like I'm at this point now, I'm supposed to look like a female all the time. And if I get clocked or, noticed or something, then I feel like that's where I feel like completely, like, to be honest, I feel ugly. Like, it is a fear. It's just fear of like.
Is it Angie, I want to make sure that everybody gets this right. You almost make it sound like a little bit of it being like a fear of getting caught. Yeah. I mean, or being exposed. Like, is that what you're talking about?
No, it's not like, I don't care if like I'm at that point now where like I want to help people and I don't care if people know, but like I'm still doing it to be viewed as a woman. And if I'm one of those, it's kind of, I'm at that point, like if someone does figure something out and they'll like, not call me out about it, but like, be like, hey, well, like this is, they'll like bring it up, and I'll be like, oh, I'm over here trying to be all discreet about it, like, and you found it out, like.
Well, and not only that, Angie, I mean, if the goal, and I believe this wholeheartedly because I know you, if the goal is to really help people, what a freaking platform you have. I mean, my gosh, it would be it would be a crime almost
Yeah.
with the platform you have and as great a performer and entertainer you are, and also a beautiful person, a beautiful human being, to have this platform and know deep down inside, I really want to help people. I know there are a lot of people going through what I'm going through and not using the platform to help the people.
Yeah. No, like definitely I want to use it and stuff, and I want to like come out more and stuff, but it's just like certain scenarios, like in public and stuff. Like if someone was not to know me and they don't know about the wrestling thing and they don't know about, you know, what I do in my life, and then they just randomly find out like I'm transgender. Like I think that's because I think that's where it's like, I don't know how to explain it really. Like I'll gladly tell somebody, but if someone comes up to me and starts asking me questions about it without me, you know, initiating it, I think that's where I get like a little weird about it.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. But
now, Angie, let me ask you this, because I'm just curious if this came into play at all. Thank God, you know, I mean, so many more people have accepted this today. And I mean, obviously, I think a lot of it has to do with Caitlyn Jenner, you know, and the fact that that was so public, and there was a television show about it. So for people like me that really didn't know and understand, I could watch the television and now I can get educated. So, you know, thank God it is more, you know, widely accepted, obviously, than it, you know, would have been, you know, years ago. But there are still that group of people that are going to have an issue with it.
right.
So, you know, listen, you're 24 years old. You're a great freaking talent. I told you, you got that natural in-ring ability. You married it now with this great character. There's a great package there in Angel Trinity. Trust me, there's a great package there.
Thank you.
But now for you to do this for all the right reasons, was there ever a fear of, okay, if I go public with this, it could hurt my career? Maybe somebody won't hire me. Maybe a sponsor would have a problem. Was there ever that fear? Was that holding you back at all?
Yes. That definitely was that played a big factor in everything. Because this is definitely something I want to do like for a while. So I just felt like if I didn't say anything now to anybody, it's going to come out eventually, you know, like there's going to be rumors and like online or something like it. Who knows like how much my name will go out there and like, well, did you know? So I just feel like if I just came out, and it could either go both ways. It could really I could not have anybody book me because of it. But if it's to help people and if it gets the point across, and if it jeopardizes the career, you know,
It wasn't meant to be.
it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. That's it. It wasn't meant to be. Angie, I have to ask you this, you know, because this was so interesting to me. But I have to ask you this because I'm so curious. I told you I knew somebody else that was into gender, and they were also in the business, and I had a long conversation with them. And one of the things they were really struggling with is, you know, having gone through the change and being in the wrestling business, it was almost like, okay, I was a man and now I'm a woman wrestling. And it was almost like they were trying to overcompensate and work like a woman would work. And like when this person was explaining this to me, I was saying to myself, that's never going to work. I mean, it's never going to work. You're going to screw yourself up totally. That was my opinion. Did you experience any of that when you were in the ring? Like, okay, I'm transitioning now. Now I have to start working like a female. I'm just curious how you handle that.
No, I don't think that ever really was a struggle for me, because when I started like training and everything, I was already so far into the estrogen and stuff, and so I was confident in like the way like I looked and everything. And so, you know, working, when I learned how to like work, I just feel like there's no like I just feel like we're all like need.
There's one way to work.
There's one way to work. Yeah, I don't feel like there's one like two ways to work. Like as a girl or a guy, or like I go in there and I'm aggressive, and I just feel like that's how it is, you know.
Now, Angie, I love the story, and here's what I love more than anything else. Like I said, I knew, and I know you didn't want everybody to know. I love the fact that we could talk about it now. I do. I love the fact, because I really do think you can really help other people, you know, and you've got a great platform, and you're a great person, man. People know you, they fall in love with you. Everybody at that school loves you. Do you have any regrets now? Looking back on this journey, what was there anything you would have done differently? Was there any, I wish I would have done this then, or was there any regrets or anything you would have done differently, or has this kind of played out the way you would have wanted it to?
Like I try not to be the one to say, oh, I regret this, or I regret not doing this. There is definitely things I wish I could have changed, but I think I've come to a point in my life to where like I've accepted to like where I am today and like where it's going today. I feel like maybe if I wouldn't have gotten into like the partying scene and stuff, and would have just, you know, kept like a level head back then, and just try to transition like as early as I can, and maybe I could be done right now and be in, you know, the business still and be okay. Because like now I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of everything, like in both journeys. Like I'm like trying to wrestle, and I'm still trying to make this happen. So maybe.
Hey, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me interrupt you.
Okay.
You're 24.
Yeah.
You're talking like you're 44. You're a baby. You're just getting started. You didn't lose any time, for crying out loud, 24 years old.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you know what though, on the other side of that coin, Angie, maybe you had to go through that period to get to where you are today.
Exactly.
I mean, it's all part of the journey, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, now, Angie, I know now you've started this YouTube channel. That's where I saw the first video. I know this is very important to you. I know you're doing it for all the right reasons. I know there are many people out there, you know, in your situation. And I mean, trust me, knowing Angie personally, this is the person that you can trust, and this is the person that you can go to. This is the person that can help. Tell them a little bit about the channel, how they can find it, how they can subscribe to it. Give them all that information.
Okay. So right now it's just barely starting up. I only have one video. My YouTube name is Angel Trinity, uppercase A, uppercase T, no spaces. And you will find that one video called I Am Me, or you could reach me at my facebook.com/decaying_angel. And that's my Facebook. So you could link up to, that's like where the YouTube will be linked up and stuff. So yeah, I'm just trying to come up with videos of just how to just explain, you know, my story just a little more, pretty much.
Yeah. And also, where can they see your work? And because let's not forget about that. I mean, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Yeah. You are a great performer, and I saw the in-ring work, and then all of a sudden the birth of this unholy trinity. Like I said, the ring entrance alone. So tell them about where can they see some of that? Where can they see Rocky Mountain Pro and some other organizations you may work for?
Yep, the Rocky Mountain Pro and the Realm Network. We are based out of Denver, Colorado. So if you ever want to go to a show, go to the RockyMountainPro.com for tickets. We actually have 2 shows coming up this weekend. Friday night we'll be at the Rack House and Pub in Denver, Colorado. Next night, Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Golden for an Ignition taping. So RockyMountainPro.com for tickets.
Okay, now, Angie, is there anything I left out? Because, again, this was your show. I wanted to make sure you got all the information out. So, like, I want to give you, like, one last opportunity. Is there anything I missed or anything else that you'd like to get across?
No, I think we pretty much got everything across, the whole story, my whole life. I just want to thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Angie, let me ask you this. With the YouTube channel, you said there's the one video, which I saw and everybody can see now. Do you plan on doing this on a weekly basis? Like how often do you plan on going on there and shooting new videos?
Okay. So within the next 2 weeks, it's going to start being weekly. So I definitely plan every like Monday to have like a new video. Within the next 2 weeks, you should start seeing a video up every Monday. I'm just currently making a video right now. It's kind of like a timeline of, you know, from me to now type of thing, and that's kind of taking forever, but I really wanted to post that first before I posted any other videos, because I think that it kind of falls up on that first one. So definitely within the next 2 weeks it'll start being weekly. So
yeah, great. Well, listen, you know, Angie, I want to tell you, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you did this, and I think it's so important, and I'm so glad that we could have this conversation because, listen, I can't get in the minds of other people or what other people think. Or I can't do that. All I know is I met Angel Trinity. I fell in love with this person. I mean, that's all I know. I knew what was there. It didn't matter to me one iota because you're such a beautiful, fantastic person. And that's why I think this is so important. For somebody like you to be able to share a story like this with the platform that you have and you're going to have. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody out there has half a freaking brain, Angie should be working for your promotion. She is a great performer. And like I said, I didn't know how far she was going to be able to go in the ring because I know she's shy and there was something holding her back. And even the greatest of workers, if they don't have that other half, but then all of a sudden, Unholy Trinity, she's the whole package. Check her out. And Angie, I want to applaud you. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy for you. And I want you to know, anytime you have anything to say, anything you want to come across, just know you'll always have a home here, and you can come here and do it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you've done.